all, welcome back to Otaku no Video. As always, thank you very much for joining me. No pipe, no manga this time, because this is my attempt to review Turn A Gundam. And I'm really intimidated by this, so I don't want to add any of the other props or any other elements in there, and I don't even really want to write a review of this. I just want to sort of sit down and hash it out, because this is one of those works that hit me very hard. I love this series very deeply, and I can't find a way of organizing my thoughts in the normal way. That just really doesn't fit Turn A. Now, Turn A was released in 1999, exactly 20 years after the release of the original Mobile Suit Gundam series, as part of the Big Bang event. This is the big 20th anniversary event surrounding Gundam, and it's directed by Yoshiyuki Tomino, the director of original Gundam. So he created Gundam originally, and he came back to conceive and direct of this. Now, Turn A, an upside down A, is the mathematical symbol meaning all, meaning everything in a set or whatever. And Turn A Gundam was billed as essentially encompassing all Gundam series, which is interesting, especially when you first watch it and you see that there's you see some mecha, and then the mecha land on what looks like Earth, and it's this early 19th century, even late 18th century world. People are going around in basic cars, and there are biplanes and dirigibles and frilly clothes and things like that. And it's just, what is this? I won't spoil what's going on there, but Turn A Gundam is the summation of all Gundams in a very philosophical way. And I'm not going to get into spoilers here, don't worry, but Turn A attempts to be a response to all of the existing Gundam series and to Gundam fandom, in my opinion. I do plan on doing a digging deeper into Turn A. I'll go into this in more detail, by the way. So there's a lot of I would say philosophy that goes into how this series comes out, particularly regarding the main character, Laurent Sahak, who is I believe a 17-year-old boy at the time of the main storyline. And what's amazing about Laurent is that he is a helpful, kind, energetic, upbeat, hardworking young man. He has basically no hang-ups. He has no issues. He doesn't really get angry or upset. He can get frustrated in things, but normal thing. He is mature. He is a completely mature. He's one of the most mature characters in Gundam, and he's our protagonist. And giant robots end up becoming an integral part of the storyline, obviously. But one of the odd things about Turn A Gundam is the fact that seemingly odd, is the fact that there are very few big space battles. There are no big space battles, in fact. There are no big battles, in fact. It's mostly a few mobile suits fighting at any given time. And I think that's very deliberate. Turn A has this feel that is incredibly pastoral, is about the best way I can think of it, in terms of pastures and fields and being relaxed and being wanting to be normal. I don't mean normal in the mundane sense. I mean normal in the sense of living everyday life peacefully. This is not a series about war, it's a series about peace in a lot of ways. And whereas a lot of other Gundam series are about war, or are about peace, but spend all their time showing people fighting each other, this is very much about peace. And it is a very peaceful series in that sense. It's not quite slice of life, although it gets pretty close a lot of the time. It's certainly closer to slice of life than any other Gundam series. Maybe 0080, no, not really. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why Turn A was fairly unpopular in Japan when it was released. It got very low ratings, certainly by Gundam standards at least, and by general standards. I mean, but as folks in America started watching it, I have yet to see a negative English language review of Turn A Gundam. And the opinion seems to be turning back in Japan as well. And the problem is, this is so unlike pretty much every other Gundam series out there. It's, again, sort of pretty quiet and peaceful. Now, I mean, there's plenty of action. There are fights and things. You know, one thing Tomino knows is make sure there's a fight in every episode in some way, shape, or form. Although there is none in the first episode of Turn A Gundam, which says something about how much he's changed. But Turn A just feels like a Studio Ghibli film in a lot of ways. It's grown up, it's mature, and it tells a story, and it's exciting, it's adventurous, but it's almost like it exists in a whole different plane than most other Gundam series. And again, that's also kind of deliberate. One other thing is that Turn A has some of the better established characters I've ever seen in Gundam. One thing Tomino has always, in my opinion, had a problem with is writing strong female characters. He can write female characters who are serious and strong, but they tend to be guys with breasts, not particularly feminine characters. And Turn A is got plenty of characters who are definitely feminine, are definitely, in many ways, traditional, but that also feel very strong. Nausicaa, San from Princess Mononoke. Well, she's Kiki. These Studio Ghibli style characters, where you can have strong female characters who still feel very much like girls and women. You get that in Turn A, and you get male characters who hit a wide variety of personalities. And part of the problem here, one of the reasons I'm pausing so often, is that I just love this series. I am so deeply in love with it that I almost cannot take a step back and look at it uncritically. I'm sure there are things about it that don't work very well. One issue is that Turn A I don't know if it had budgetary issues, but it is certainly not the most lushly animated Gundam series. Not a slouch at all. There are plenty of more cheaply animated Gundam series, particularly original Gundam. But this doesn't look as lush as some Gundam series you may be expecting. It is also the last Gundam series that was entirely hand-drawn, with no computers involved. They may have used computers for assembling some of the shots and things like that, but in terms of what you see on the screen visually, there are no computer effects. They didn't even color it digitally as anime is done now. Everything is hand-drawn and hand-painted, whole 9 yards. So that's also kind of a little bit interesting from an artistic standpoint. And that's also interesting artistically because of the color palette. This has a sort of a pastel color palette, not like shoujo, girly, stereotypically girly, everything's soft and so forth. But this is not a hard-edged series. This is a more contemplative series and a more philosophical series, and a series that actually explores its elements in ways that don't feel in your face, they don't feel cheap, and they don't feel obvious. For example, I've Howl's Moving Castle is a movie that I think Hayao Miyazaki could only make at the age he was at when he made that movie. That's not a movie made by a young person. And I think if a younger person had tried to make a movie like that, it wouldn't be like that. There's something that comes with age. Turn A feels like a series that Tomino only could have made at this point that point in his life, where he's not trying to prove anything. He can tell his series the way he wants to, and he knows how to make it entertaining. He knows how to make it interesting. He doesn't break the rules, but he comes at it from an angle that is rarely used and it creates something very special and very, very different, and something that just came very close to my heart, something that I fell deeply in love with in many different ways. I cried at the end. I got seriously emotionally worked up at the end, and even every time I see that ending, I get emotionally choked up and I start to cry. It's that, and I'm not saying that it's tragic. I'm saying that it's that emotionally powerful. So yes, wow, Turn A, amazing. I love this series. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should mention, because there's plenty I could delve into. So I'm gonna have to do digging deeper into Turn A, but without spoilers and so forth. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I mean, Turn A, wow, interesting on many different levels and entertaining. Now I will say there were points during Turn A where the story was moving slowly, and I had to not quite force myself to watch more of it, but where I was like, okay, I wonder when we're going to get back onto the main storyline. There are fair enough, but other than that, I really don't have anything to complain about or anything else to say about it without getting into spoilers. So that's Turn A. Oh, and Turn A Gundam is being released in North America by Bandai later this year, as of the posting of this. So you will get a chance to watch Turn A Gundam very soon, or now. It'll be out on DVD, whole 9 yards. You'll be able to actually watch Turn A Gundam in its entirety. And they've already talked about some really cool things coming out they have planned for that DVD release. So please, if this interests you at all, please pick up Turn A Gundam. Actually buy it. Actually buy the copies. My gosh, please support something like this.